Alright, as you can see, a very strange sight here. It's the end of a championship game under lights in Semple Stadium. You're taking pictures there, Tommy. It's kind of poignant, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful, really. And I suppose considering the pandemic we're all going through, and just to be here, I suppose, at a match, it's brilliant and a great distraction. We know it's tough going, and it doesn't take away from the suffering that many people are going through, but it is a distraction, and something nice maybe to look forward to each weekend, and a beautiful backdrop there as we go into the winter.
Limerick were bloody good today, weren't they?
Yeah, second half. Even the first half, I suppose, they put in a big shift because they're playing against the gale force wind. The wind was going down into the town end, down into Thurles. And usually, when you're playing against a strong wind, if you're in kind of 4 or 5 pints, if there's only 4 or 5 pints down, you'd be happy enough. They went in level pegging. And, you had the Tony Kelly show in the first half and the second half. He was just incredible and really kept Clare. They did a quite strong defensive, I thought, set up. And then Tony Kelly up front then was putting the balls over. So that was keeping them in line at half time, but second half I thought Limerick were just phenomenal on.
What did they do to stop Tony Kelly in the second half, or did they? Was it just a matter of them going out in front and finding different scorers and worrying about themselves a bit more?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's very hard for one man to do it for 75 minutes. There was always a stage come where it was going to be much more difficult for Tony to get into the game. First half, he started corner forward, probably on Barry Nash. It was his first time. He would always be known probably as a forward to those outside Limerick. He was half back last year, had a quite a good year. Again, named cornerback today due to the injuries to Richie English and Mike Casey. So maybe Brian Lohan said, listen, there might be a chance here. This guy mightn't have played too many big games. Put in our star performer Tony Kelly, who was being there and done that, and he scored 17 points, 8 from play. Now it wasn't on Barry Nash, so what he used to do was, they had the wind, he used to stay corner forward. Next minute, for 5 minutes, he'd drift out centre forward, then he'd drift over to the wing, so no one really knew who was picking up. You couldn't say that he kind of destroyed any one particular player. He was just floating around picking up the scores off his famous left hand side. In the second half, you see, they were against the wind, and anyone across the half back line would know it's much easier to defend against the wind, because when you're with the wind, the ball comes down, you just need to block the ball, bat the ball, and all your guys is all new, a quick little flick and the ball's gone 30-40 yards down the line. So Tony was against the wind trying to win ball, much more difficult to do as a half forward. The kind of brick wall, as I said earlier, the human brick wall that Limerick had built up, Paddy O'Loughlin, Hannon and Diarmaid Burns, huge big men, very hard to get the ball past them. So I thought they set up lovely for that second half, and very difficult for Tony then to shoot the lights out from play like he did in the first.
They've always been big, this Limerick team. Have they got a bit bigger during lockdown again? They looked like it's one way of putting it, a human wall. They are absolute animals out there.
Yeah, sure. There's a few famous lines going around, aren't there, about the lockdown? You can either get fit or you can get chunky. You can either go off the beer or go on the beer, and you have to make up your own mind. And I think we all know what the Limerick lads did. Now, they are wearing tight fit jerseys as well, so if you put the jerseys that we wore around 2000, 2001, 2002 on them, they wouldn't look so big. So I think Armagh brought that in around the Kieran McGeeney era, that great Armagh team that won the All-Ireland in 02. So they're strong men anyway though. I said, big advantage, the whole kind of Ireland is trying to play the Limerick game now, say even at club level, where you kind of short pass the ball out. Well, your eyes up, playing kind of eyes up hurling, heads up hurling. So basically, you short pass if you have to, and when you get to midfield, you play a lovely spraying ball into the corners. There's guys shooting to the corners. Gillane is going one way, Peter Casey is going the other way, Graham Mulcahy. Then there's lads shooting in from the half hour line. So basically, they've such strong men under half hour line. You have Tom Morrissey, who is definitely 6'2", 6'3", I suppose. You have Kyle Hayes, another giant of a man, and you have Garrod Hegarty. They get the ball right deep, right through the tackle, and then either score themselves or lay it off. Whereas you put 3 small little men in the half forward line, they win a ball like that. Next minute they try to run through a tackle, they won't be able, they'll go into trouble, and everyone's shouting, and why don't they let the ball go? So they are playing to their strengths, Limerick. They have a big strong physical team, and they're playing to those strengths.
So the problem is you can't go out and just play like Limerick unless you have those specimens that they have.
I think so. You have to play to your advantages. Again, the different type of weather that's there. Say when you're in the middle of June, we'll say in Munster, the way Cork play, short, fast ball into the full forward line. That's probably what would have suited Clare today. Much smaller kind of outfit, and but it's different conditions. When you stand on that field there, you're going to dig into it. It's going to be that bit harder to get through it. And no, I definitely think, as you said, to play like Limerick, you probably have to be a big, strong team.
Were Limerick your favourites before today for the All Ireland, and where are they now after that?
Yeah, I think Limerick are. I suppose Limerick. I say if you were to look at probably the bookies or maybe the GA public, you'd be thinking Limerick, Tipperary, possibly Kilkenny, probably maybe top three for the type of players they have and the conditions. Why Limerick, big physical team, they kind of have the panel as well, so we're going to have match after match after match. So like they were missing two in their full back line today. They were able to put Barry Nash back, corner back, put Dan Morrissey in full back, bring in Paddy O'Loughlin and Diarmaid Burns, or it was wing back anyway, but didn't make much of a change. If that was anybody else, to be in trouble. Look at Tipperary. Why is it suiting Tipperary? Tipperary have a team, probably all their star players are probably hitting the 30-31 age bracket. They don't want to be playing 10 matches in a season. They just want to play a match, get fresh again, play a match. So they're going into a Munster semi-final next week. For them to win an All-Ireland through the front door, I suppose, if they can, they only have to win 4 matches, which would much more suit, I think, their age profile and what they have to do. As well, they're All-Ireland champions. It's probably suiting them, this pandemic, in regards to the mental side of things. Nobody, I think it was yourself was speaking about it the other day, nobody is speaking about 1965. They haven't won the double since then. Towards every other year to win an All-Ireland, can they do the double? Can Tipperary win the double? And nobody's talking about that this year, so that will suit them. For Kilkenny then, you have the big men, you have the TJs, you have the Colin Fenleys, the Walter Welches, big strong men. This time of year should suit them.
It kind of begs the question then, have Limerick become Tipperary's kryptonite to a certain point? Like, if you make Tipperary All-Ireland favourites, does it come with the caveat that, except if they get Limerick in a knockout game?
Yeah, well, I think Limerick have probably, they're there on merit. Since John Kiley has come in, whether it's the challenge match, whether it's a kind of a South East League competition, whether it's the National League or whether it's a Munster or All-Ireland, they treat every match as if it's an All-Ireland final. So they don't care when they play Tipperary, they want to beat them. So that's probably why. And every time Tipperary play them, there's no weak spots on that Limerick team. So like Limerick don't have to shift around the team to mark a Shamie Callan, mark a Bubbles O'Dwyer, mark a Noel McGrath. They have the players in all the positions, maybe one or two little tweaks here and there. So that's probably why. Plus they're a big strong physical team. Probably, Tipperary, if the game is flown, they are strong themselves and good in the air as well. But like if they're being put up to it physically, that's the toughest that you can do. Limerick aren't just a physical team, they have great skill as well, so they're able to do both. And whether it's Tipperary or Kilkenny or Cork, no matter who's playing that Limerick team, they're going to find it tough. On
Clare's side of things then, obviously they looked good for the first half of the game. We thought that we might be in with a chance of an upset, and that goal in the second half kept them within it. It's very hard to get away from the notion though that they depend on Tony Kelly too much.
It is, and like I thought the show definitely for long parts of that game, the Brian Lohan doggedness, the Brian Lohan determination, the toughness were never bet. They went, I'd say, 4 points down in that second half straight away, and next minute Ryan Taylor got the goal, brought it back to they probably went farther, they brought it back to probably a point or two. Next minute Limerick tore off again and got 4 or 5 more points in a row, so they are quite good. Listen, I think Clare, they never had the panel the last couple of years like they are. I think there's only a couple, is it 4 from their All-Ireland winning 2013 team still playing today. They can't do it missing their best players. John Conlon missing, has been in all-star form the last hurler of the year form, I'd say, the last couple of years. Peter Duggan has been outstanding from freeze and from play. 2 big strong men as well for this time of year. He's out touring Australia. Podge Collins isn't playing. Colm Galvin, the kind of sweeper, if they need him as a sweeper, midfield dynamo, kind of does the Tony Kelly, Keane Lynch kind of performance out around the middle of the field. So they're missing all them big players, and I don't think they have the panel. So I think they're very unlucky, and Brian Lohan is very unlucky in his first year. Like, they were top of the league. Like, this was a league final as well as a Munster quarter final, so they were there on merit from the early parts of the year, but then got all them injuries. So I think it's going to be tough for them going forward.
Who was your man of the match today?
Man of the match, I suppose it's very hard to look past Tony Kelly. 17 points, 8 from play. Incredible performance from him. My probably outstanding contributor today though, because listen, they won comfortably in the end for Limerick, Garrod Hegarty. Oh, I thought he was outstanding. He can win the ball short, he can win the ball long, puck out, he'll run and say in the first half he must have ran there from the middle of the field down along that side, along the Ardon O'Reen, flicked the ball over a Clare defender's head and then hand passed. I think it was Graham MacCarthy or Peter Casey scored a point in the air. He was able to do that and then score 5 points himself from play, won a couple of frees. So I think Garrod Hegarty for me, it was between himself and Tony Kelly, but because Limerick won by so much and he did so much, Garrod Hegarty was my outstanding contributor today. Another thing I would say, Owen, as well, is I'd love to look at the stats, and you might have a look at them during the week. How many points were scored from the left side? Say the Phil Mickelson's swing, we'll say, in the golf. The left hand side, like Graham Mulcahy scored a couple, Peter Casey scored a couple, Garrod Hegarty, Kyle Hayes, Aaron Gallagher from frees, Tony Kelly, I'd say, scored all his from the left. How many points today were scored from the left hand side? I'd say it was incredible.